And we are live. A warm welcome to each and everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for new session for today's webinar. This is a new Wednesday as well. And it's the middle of the week. So, everyone is looking forward to Thursday and Friday to ending the week, definitely. But beforehand, please join us as we uncover new information and new knowledge for just an hour with two different knowledge coming from two fantastic individuals that we have here today. All right. This initiative is made possible by Cogent Integrative Business Solutions, which is an IT company based in the United States, and also wanted to give back to the community by sharing knowledge and information and experience from individuals on the other part of the world. So this is to aim to be able to create an empowered and informed community through this platform, which we call the Let Us Talk It Zipinar. So we call it Zipinar as there are two topics that we try to zip in a single session and for a shorter period of time to lessen your viewing time, but increasing the knowledge that you attain from that short interval. For the first topic that we have today, um, we have uh, how to use lean principles for personal gain. So, using lean, which is LEAN, and continuous improvement for personal gain, the speaker that we have today will show you how he had used lean tools to invent, build, and perfect the international award winning magic presentations. Yes, you heard it right. Magic presentations or magic act, as um, the speaker that we have today is not just a keynote speaker, but he is also a magician. So he made a career decision at the ripe age of 8 to be a magician. So by the time he was 19, he was making enough money to put himself through college. By his mid 20s, he was the most sought after magician in the college market. So after 10 years of touring, he became a corporate magician and learned about lean principles, LEAN. So knowing how effective it is in manufacturing, as our speaker applied it to his magic act. And within a few short years, his act improved so much that he was invited to compete internationally and not only won, but broke every record. So I'm excited to hear from this professional. And without further ado, we have here Mr. Stuart McDonald to deliver the topic. Please take over.
Well, hello. If you're looking at your screen right now, you see a shot of me in the World Championships of Magic in my final moments in Korea, where the championships were held in 2018. And the journey that I took to get to this point was quite interesting. And so today we're going to talk about why lean adoption fails in business and applying lean personally to yourself and how to achieve higher adoption rates. And so we're going to get right into it as quick as we can. So let's just look at the big problem that we have. And the problem is the failure rates for lean programs range between 50 and 95%. And that's from the Association of Manufacturing Excellence. And the reason for that they're threefold. It's companies apply Toyota design tools for their business. In other words, they're shoehorning these principles in rather than applying a culture to their business that's designed specifically for their business. Another failure is management doesn't understand what a lean culture is, so they focus on who failed rather than what failed, what process failed. And the worst one of all is philosophical, when people are viewed as expendable. And oftentimes when people say that they're going to do a lean initiative at their company, the first thing they think of is this movie, Office Space, when the consultants come in and they're going to start firing people because they find overlap and they get rid of people. So there's a lot of fear that happens in companies when lean initiatives are mentioned. So the idea here is to allay those fears and put lean in a positive light, and that's what I'm going to do for you today. So there's another part about this that's not as obvious, but lean is actually quite complex because lean has a lot of voices now because it's a hot topic, because everybody's trying to save money and make their jobs more efficient. So the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, they have 5 key principles of lean. Lean Enterprise Institute has 6. Manufacturing.com has 7 principles. And the kingpin of all is the one who started it, Toyota Lean Production System, 14 guiding principles of lean. There's so many terms and there's so many processes that it can get so overwhelming if you just do a data dump on your teams. So the idea is pretty simple. My idea is to break it down into something that I like to call as a personal lean culture. Now, what you have here is a goal. I wanted to be in the World Championships of Magic, and it was going to be in Korea. And Korea is the hotbed for the best magicians in the world right now. And they're great. And so in 2014, I decided, okay, I'm going to qualify, and I'm going to compete against these guys. I knew I wasn't going to win, and I knew that I was just going to test the waters. And I failed miserably. I face planted in front of 2,000 magicians, and it was really embarrassing. So I knew I had a problem, and I hadn't applied lean yet. So I said, I just wonder if I applied these principles, how good could I get? So I did an after-action review, and I found out that my performance style was dated. I had low skill compared to the competition, and I definitely wasn't clever enough. So personal lean culture is what I started. And how do I do that? Well, the first thing I did is I learned lean and continuous improvement. And then I matched lean principles with knowledge that I already possessed. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. And then I applied those principles, and then I had my own personal lean culture. So once I had that started, I was like, okay, now where do I do the work? That's the critical question. So I had to have a career baseline. That was going to be my KPI, my key performance measurement tool. So here's what my career looked like for a 14-year period. And there really wasn't a whole lot going on. I was working very well. I was doing about 120 shows a year, and my career just didn't have the highs. And the highs are what you would call in a career as a milestone. And the more milestones you have, the higher up the ladder you go because more people see you. So in 14 years, I had 5 milestones. So that's my KPI, my key performance indicator. That's what I'm going to measure. All right. So I'm taking something that isn't manufacturing and I'm putting some spin on it so that I can measure what I'm trying to achieve. Now, the next state is my current state. Where am I at now? I have to ask this question. What does my act look like? And that's the Gemba walk. You want to go to where the work is. And I took a look at what I was doing, and I wasn't getting any answers. And I remember one time I was watching Cleopatra, and I pushed pause, and I went upstairs, got some popcorn, came back downstairs, and I looked at this picture. This paused moment in the movie really moved me. So I did it again and again, and I found every move in this movie is a picture. Every moment, there's something really critical happening. Pieces of information are being displayed before me. And I was like, I wonder if I could apply this to my act, or what about other people's acts? So I applied it to Avatar, who is, they're Swedish musicians, which I highly recommend you take a look at them. They're an odd group, but look at that. There's passion there. There's something going on. One of my favorite comedians is Brian Regan. He's a great storyteller. And there's obviously something happening here that's interesting. So I took a look at my act that I did in the world qualifier where I face planted, and I pushed pause. That wasn't helping. I pushed pause again, and that didn't help either. So, I mean, if you look at the center picture, it looks like I'm beating a drum. There is absolutely nothing that you can say about this act that is interesting. I look at it today and I'm pretty embarrassed, but that was my current state. But I had to have a future state. So how do you judge how an act is going to look in the future? It's impossible. So you have to create a North Star. So mine was Lance Burton and Veronin. Lance Burton was the first American to win the World Championships of Magic in 1982. It's been that long. And Veronin, he's from Yugoslavia, and he won comedy. So I looked at Veronin for acting and character, and Lance Burton for execution. He was one of the best, and still is one of the best. Data. You got to find some, we have my KPI, but where am I going to get all the data to improve? I know that my act is bad at this point, but how do I improve it? What process was wrong in my first data set, in my career timeline? And that was my flow map. My flow map wasn't a closed loop. I had rehearsals, booking, performance, audience, and feedback, and that was it. As you can see, there's not a lot of data coming in. And really, when you're performing on stage, it's the performance that gives you the feedback. Audience members after the show will give you feedback, but usually it's positive. So where was I wrong? Well, I did a new data set. I took feedback and I went to experiment. And from experimenting, I learned more. And then video recording, I learned even more by watching myself. And then I would share those video recordings with trusted people, and they would give me feedback. I had 3 directors, and I would put those improvements into play, and I would rehearse, and that cycle was happening over and over and over. So that is where I got my data. But still, we hadn't gotten on stage yet. And, when you're looking at data, a lot of it is asking the right question. And I was always asking, how did you like the act? Well, if that's the only question I'm asking, I'm always going to get, oh, it was great. You fooled me. That's not good enough. It was never good enough. And then one day I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said his wife took a look at my act, and she said it was stupid. And what do you mean it's stupid? And I said, well, what's bothering you? And as soon as I asked the question, what bothers you about the act, I got 20 pages of notes. And what's interesting is just by changing the word from what did you like to what bothered you, really made a difference. Because if you don't like something, it sounds personal. But if it's something that bothers you, it's not personal. It means I'm trying to help you convey information better to me from the stage so that I'm not confused. So how about a work improvement tip? Maybe you could ask your employees what bothers you about your job, rather than why do you hate your job? What are your sticking points? Just what bothers you? And you might get the answers you're looking for. That's just a little tip. So the lean tools, this is where it gets interesting. Lean is actually theater. See, at the very beginning, I said about my personal culture is I wanted to get lean principles into my mind, but it's like, how do I do that? How do I do that fast? Because I needed to qualify in 2 years to go to Korea for the World Championships. And I needed to, how am I going to learn all this? Well, theater knowledge is the exact same thing. So I just did an association exercise. Direct observation is director and audience. 5 why problem solving is story and character, waist walk, props and choreography. Then you have 5S, which If I'm inventing my own props, I'm going to be in my workshop prototyping, and I need to find my tools quickly. And on Paul, that's when you stop the line when something is wrong. Well, audience and direct feedback is the best and-on pull. If I'm telling a joke and people don't laugh, that's an and-on pull. If I do a trick and people boo, that's an and-on pull. It means there's something wrong. Process mapping is building the act. After action review, exactly the same thing. Reviews from others and myself. And FMEA. So I'm only going to talk about a few of these things in some detail, and let's get into it. Let's start with the waste walking. There are 8 wastes, and waste is theater directing. I'm a theater major, so I know this. Transportation is prop movement. Inventory is the number of tricks. Motion is blocking. Waiting, how long does the audience have to wait for me to do one trick to another? Over-processing or repeating effects. Overproduction is a complicated plot. Defects, editing the story so that it makes sense for the people that are watching. And skills, how many skills am I ignoring in my act that I could put in? So again, everything is already in my head, but I just needed to associate it. And once I started doing that, it got really easy. My personal culture was starting to work. So let's look at direct observation. I needed people to look at my act, and so I have these groups of friends of mine that are either theater directors, they're magicians, they're choreographers, but one guy in particular is Tobin Ost, and he's from my hometown, and he went to Broadway and became a Broadway production designer and was nominated for a Tony because he did all the production design for Newsies and a host of other shows as well. So I emailed him I messaged him through Facebook, and I didn't hear anything. And then 10 minutes later, he called me up on the phone and he said, "Stuart, I want to help you out." I said, "Well, I can't afford you. I just want to talk to you about my act and what my goal is." And he said, No. I don't want any money. I just want to pay back what you gave me." And I'm like, what did I do for you? And he said, "When I was in the 5th grade, you came to my elementary school, you did the cut and restored rope trick, you brought me up on stage, and you are the one who introduced me to theater." What? So that to me was an incredible connection. And because of that, he helped me do a lot of problem solving. And we were able to rebuild the act. So the first thing that I started doing once he started giving me ideas is I process mapped my act, much in the same way you would do at work. And I would just put ideas in a parking lot. You can see some of the parking lot ideas that are just the Post-it notes that are hanging in the air. But my act is linear. And so I was able to, instead of rehearsing the act and getting it into muscle memory and then having to forget it when I change it, I would just rehearse it on the wall by changing things around. So that was efficient. But the other thing that Tobin was really good at was asking questions, and that was the 5 why problem solving tool. And he only had to ask why once, and that was, "Why are you wearing a purple suit in your act?" And I said, "Well, I like the color purple, and I saw the suit in it, and I decided to buy it." And he said, No, that's not how it works. The way it works is that you're confusing the audience because you look like a magician on stage. I said, "Well, I am a magician." He said, No. Your character that you have on stage is not a magician. So I rethought it, and I went to Goodwill or a resale store, and I bought this brown suit. So the purple suit was $400. The brown suit was $7.50. So that was a very expensive problem that I solved. But I became a character. And then the next part was eliminating magic tricks that were really weren't foolproof, like this floating cane. It broke in the World Championships of Magic. So I gave it an FMEA score. So if you have 5 as a failure rate, it's really bad if it hits a 5, and it's not so bad if it's a 1. So If the trick fails and it ruins the act, it's a 5 for sure. And the failure rate of the trick is a 5. And the position of the show was in the middle, it's a 3. So for me, 13 out of 15 is too risky. So that was a way for me to eliminate tricks. Now, as I started stair-stepping up in magic, I started to get noticed. And remember those guideposts, those little moments in my career when you looked at the career timeline, they were starting to pile up. So the producers of the TV show Penn Teller Fool Us contacted me, and they said, "Do you want to be on the show?" And I said, "Of course, sure, but I don't think I can fool them." So I put together a continuous improvement plan, and it was really simple. I'm going to film myself 100 times in 30 days, and each time I improve something, it's going to be 100%. It's going to be 1%. So at the end of 30 days, my act would be 100% better. So I get on the show. Well, before I get on the show, I videotape myself 100 times, and I was sharing it with my people that I had chosen to go on this journey with me. And I get on the TV show, and I tell Allison Hannigan, this is what my plan was. And of course, she was shocked. It's like, "You did what?" I said, "Yeah, it was pretty radical." And then Penn Teller said, "We give up. We don't know how you did it." So I won. And I got to work with Penn Teller in Las Vegas, which was pretty cool because they're idols of mine. So when you look at lean, everybody is like, "What is your process?" Well, the first thing is that everybody likes these little charts. So I made a chart just for you. So first thing I did is I identified my problem. I applied basic lean tools. I tested those methods and shared them. And then I shared the results. And then this was a closed loop system. And I kept doing this over and over and over. And each step of the system that I did, it was an improvement process. So that is really how I did it. And it's a very simple thing. Now, the results. We're all curious. So remember my current state. These were the photographs at the very beginning. Now, 3 years later, this is what my act looked like. From that to that in 3 years. Now, what about my KPI? Oh, by the way, my act is centered. The timeline for my act is I'm in the 1940s. So the left photograph is Abbott and Costello in Hold That Ghost, and then there's Mo Howard from the Three Stooges in an old black and white horror movie. So I took color out of one of my photographs, and I'm like, "Yep, that's exactly right. I'm in the right time period." And here's the craziest thing that happened. Veronin and Lance Burton, I had chosen 3 years earlier to be my guidepost, my North Star, and they were at the contest when I made magic history, which was fun. All right, so let's look at the results. So my KPI, my first one to measure against was 14 years, 5 milestones. This, I ran out of room. This only goes to 2021. So in 7 years, I have 16 milestones. I mean, these are big milestones, not just tiny ones. And it's been a heck of a journey. And a lot of it I didn't even prepare for. I didn't even have a goal for. But my goal wasn't to win the World Championships of Magic. My goal was just to compete and compete well. And not only did I do that, I was the FISM North American champion and the People's Choice winner for the second year in a row. So how do you set up your teams for lean? And I'm almost done. Is you have to have a shared purpose. You have to have the right people. You have to have an open culture, and you have to have good facilitation and visible processes. This is not mine. This is the Iowa Lean Consortium and the Lean Enterprise Institute. Now, my method almost mirrors that by accident. So here's what I'm asking for you to do with your company. Before you do a lean initiative, you remember all those words and all those terms that I showed you at the very beginning, is why don't you invite your employees to employ lean principles, basic lean principles to their lives first, not the job. Have them do something that's fun, like improve their bowling score or something. And then you establish a lean consortium of personal improvement. You have a progress board or something that people will put their improvements on, what their goal is and where they're at now. And maybe if you have 10 entries, you get $100, $100 gift certificate. Just something so that there's some skin in the game for the company, and skin in the game for you is to improve your life and to share it with the group. And the other thing is because employees are doing something that they love, they're going to learn the value of consistency or on of purpose on a personal level, which is really important. And because what's going to start happening is that they're going to start getting their personal lean culture, the bells are going to start going off, and they're going to start finding ways to improve work before you've even launched a lean initiative. And then the other thing is to introduce lean and continuous improvement after months of personal growth have been documented. And if you look, that lean consortium, every single one of these steps matches the lean consortium from Iowa. So as you can say, you can attach it to anything: bowling, golf, quilting, archery, woodworking, chess. It doesn't matter. And these are a lot of the things that I used in my journey. And I just want you to be aware that continuous improvement is the biggest one. Always continually improve. And if you use these methods, even if they're just basic, they're very powerful. And I know that your company will do much better with a lean adoption if you start with the employees on a personal level first. So that's where I end.
Wow, thank you so much for that. That was really inspiring. And Penn Teller is my favorite thing to watch on YouTube as well, because of like the challenge of fooling them is really big. So that's really exciting. So yeah, well, I'm gonna watch that YouTube video. I'm gonna
Okay.
search your name. Definitely. All right. So that was a great inspiring talk, and thank you so much for that, and for the experience as well. So indeed, it's very useful. Like it's so basic that it's hard to notice, but yeah, we appreciate you sharing that. Well, acknowledging those like easy steps. Just but doing it in a continuous cycle to record like what you have made after one another, like the improvements that's accumulating.
Right.
Wonderful. Are there questions? Any insights as well from our attendees? Or yeah, you can interact, Sean, if you want, if you have questions as well. Okay, checking live. Okay, so there are no questions so far.
Okay.
And yeah, before we move to the next topic, do you have like a project or anything you want to promote or whatnot? Or they will contact you offline.
My website, stuartmcdonaldmagic.com. If you have any questions that come to mind, just go there and we can talk.
All right, great. Okay, perfect. So you're just about time, definitely. So that's a good handle. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, so you can stay tuned, actually, Stuart. But if you have to rush, it is okay as well, definitely. But yeah, we'll be moving to the next topic for today's Zipinar. So next up that we have is networking with LinkedIn. So As you can see, it's a form of social media platform for professionals. So if you have a big network here, definitely you'll be into something big as well. So this topic will help us understand how to use LinkedIn or networking on LinkedIn to find new opportunities for ourselves. So we have here Mr. Sean Moore, who is an incoming Goldman Sachs analyst, who started a logo design company at 17, selling logos to businesses and influencers. Multiple people who he respect highly said knowing accounting is in his business and is crucial. So, like, he majored it in at the university, and he was lucky enough to land a Goldman Sachs internship by utilizing networking. So since then, uh, he was able to hyper focused on improving his networking opportunities and found LinkedIn to be the best tool for anyone, whether they're at the beginning or middle of their career path. So let's hear further from this topic, networking with LinkedIn with Mr. Sean Moore. You can take over.
All right. Yeah, thank you for having me here. Really excited to be here and be able to share a little bit about what I've really learned about LinkedIn and how it's been able to help me in my career so far. Yeah, so I'm currently going to the University of Southern Mississippi. And whenever I came here, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting in terms of the possible job options that were available to me. So I came in as a freshman, of course, and at first I was a marketing major because I wasn't really quite sure really what I was wanting to do. I was interested in business because that's what I had done in high school. I started a business at 14, doing marketing, and kind of kept on doing that all throughout high school. And later on, as you said, I came across a mentor and multiple mentors actually that told me that if I was wanting to really take this business thing seriously, being able to know my own numbers would be a pretty good thing to do to help me forward, not really having to rely on other accountants completely, and being able to understand my own financials would help me out a pretty good bit. So I made the switch over to accounting and ended up pretty much falling in love with it, realizing that it was something that my mentors are right. It was something that was already starting to help me out a good bit. But whenever I started getting to that point to where it was time to start applying for internships, the companies that I was being reached out to and the companies that my university were presenting to me weren't exactly the types of companies I truly could see myself working at and being able to, be in good spirits, knowing that this is where I'm wanting to go. So I started looking other places at companies that my university wasn't pushing us to apply to and to applying to companies that weren't coming to my university's job fairs and everything. And started applying to like Google, Goldman, Tesla, stuff like that. And I was getting rejected from literally everybody. So I got a rejection email from Google, got one from Amazon, was starting to get in low spirits about it and was trying to figure out what was going on. And so I ended up at this point in my life, I kind of was in the mindset of you don't need to ask other people for help. You got to make it yourself. You got to be an entrepreneur and all that. And at that point in time, after a few rejection letters, your confidence kind of starts dwindling down a little bit, and you start trying to figure out, all right, obviously whatever I'm doing is not working, and I need to revamp it somehow. So I start doing some research, start trying to look at, okay, who do I know, and trying to kind of just see if I can get in contact with someone. Luck would have it that one of my family members knew someone that happened to make it from Mississippi, Mississippi is probably one of the lowest states in the U.S. So for someone to make it out of Mississippi is a big deal. So somehow I ended up having a contact with someone that left Mississippi to work on Wall Street up in New York City. And when I found that out, I was like, all right, great. Let me try to get in contact with this guy. And I do some talking with family members, somehow get his number, and end up getting a phone call with him. And that phone call was only supposed to go about 30 minutes or so. And the phone call basically ended up going probably closer to an hour, which was great for me. Showed me that, all right, he must like me somehow. And at the end of it, he ends up asking me to send over my resume, and said that, and this guy also happened to be a vice president at Goldman Sachs. So it was like literally the perfect storm for me. So he asked me to send over the resume, and says that he was going to see what he could do, put in a good word for me, and basically just try to give me an opportunity to prove myself. And shortly after that, I submit my application, or I think I finished sending my application. No, I'd already submitted my application, but the 3 places that Goldman that I had applied to, none of those 3 reached out to me, but an office in Dallas, Texas ended up personally reaching out to me saying, hey, we came across your resume, X, Y, and Z. We think you'd be a great fit. And next thing I know, I get moved on to the next round, and then I get moved on to the next round. And after I made it past the first one, I was like, oh, like, all right, things were looking up, because I was getting rejected on the first round for literally everything else. And next thing I know, I have what they call the super day, where you have like 3 interviews, all with like VPs and managing directors. And I have my super day, go to the first one, interview goes great, go to the second one, interview goes great, third one, interview goes great. And next thing I know, I get a call. I'm officially a Goldman Sachs intern, and everything ends up working out pretty well. And but I realized that wouldn't have happened if I didn't start doing what the one thing I didn't want to do, which was ask for help. And then I quickly realized that networking is something that I really need to focus on. And in that phone call with the VP from Goldman that was my reference, he told me that the one piece of advice that he would hope that I would take is network. And he said that when he first went to Wall Street, coming from Mississippi, he knew absolutely no one there. So he was like by himself, and because he thought the same way that I thought, which was you don't ask for help, keep your head down, work. You don't need anybody else. Turns out that's actually the exact opposite. It's reach out to as many people as possible, get as much help as you can. And that's how you make it. And he said if he would have known that when he first started, he thinks he would have been further ahead. So I took that piece of advice from him and kind of took it to a whole nother level. So I started looking around and figuring out, all right, how can I like really, really get good at networking? And I get on LinkedIn and kind of realize like, okay, this is literally an app designed for literally what I'm wanting to do. So I start maxing out my connections every single week. So on LinkedIn, I highly recommend that everyone listening to this does this as well. So I started maxing out my LinkedIn connection. You can send out about 100 connections every single week. So every single week, and they refresh on a Sunday. So every time 12 o'clock on Sunday, it refreshes, I max it out again. So sending out 100, I was sending out 100 requests every single week, knowing that I probably wouldn't get responses from probably about 50%, if not more. But the ones that I did get responses from, or I got connected with, I would send them messages asking to speak with them, letting them know, hey, I'd say, hey, I'm a student at USM. I'm super interested in real estate. And I came across your profile, saw that you were an expert in the field, would love to talk to you. And I essentially just played the numbers game, because I realized that, no one really wants to talk to a college kid. No, like I understood that there's not much value that I'm going to be able to bring to them. I understood that I'm coming from a place where I'm asking to learn from a teacher. I'm trying to just learn because I know that I'm new to the game. And, when you do that for 1 week, you send out 100 connections, let's say 50 actually connect, you send out a message to all 50, probably not going to give a response. But you keep doing that week after week after week, eventually you start getting responses, even if you're only getting one out of every 100 messages, and you just make the most out of those calls. And I started just rinsing and repeating doing that. And after I started kind of really understanding, like, okay, I think I'm starting to get kind of good at this networking thing. I realized that at the end of those meetings, how to reduce my amount of time before I meet another person. At the end of the call, I'd say something like, it was great talking to you. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'd love to stay connected with you in the future. But is there anyone else that you would recommend that I speak with? And then that person introduces me to one of their friends. And because I'm a referral from a friend, that person takes me much more seriously. And they're like, oh yeah, Jimmy or Stuart recommended you. Yeah, that's my friend from college or whatever. And then, kind of just keep rinsing and repeating. And I was doing this coming from a school that no one's heard of in Mississippi, University of Southern Mississippi. It's not anything too fancy. And I was getting in contact with people at Harvard. I was getting in contact with people at Yale. I was getting in contact with people at Goldman, Google, Microsoft. I got I spoke with 2 people at Meta, and without even trying to, I got 2 job referrals. And that's when I realized, like, okay, this stuff is like on a whole nother level, because I wasn't even trying to get a job, but I appreciate the offer. And after that, like, after I had the Goldman internship, I really kind of was really focusing more on the Goldman side of things and shifting a little bit away from the networking. But I was also trying to help my other like friends and other students that were still trying to get their internships and everything. So I started teaching them my LinkedIn stuff and started realizing, okay, people don't quite understand it exactly like I do. Let me try to like show them a little bit of what I'm seeing. And if I can share my screen here with y'all, I'll show you kind of what mine looks like and how I've utilized it. So yeah, so here, pretty much the biggest thing, if you don't already have a LinkedIn, the biggest thing is just get it started. Get a picture. If you don't have already have like a headshot, you can like throw on a suit, throw on a tie, get like a blank wall and just have a friend take a selfie or something and try to make it not look like a selfie ideally. But just simple blank background, and you can get on Canva and you can like cut around it, or I think you should be able to cut out and add a little background if you really want to add a background. That's actually how I made mine. There wasn't any like fancy technology involved. And basically just fill it out, add your picture, add some type of image here for your banner. So if you're a business owner, this is a great place to add a call to action, a great place to add your services. Let's say you have at one point I was giving away a free PDF where it had like links to apply to internships, like top 50 internships to apply for. Just made it easy for you to just click through. And I would say, click the link. You can add like a link down here, and you could say in your banner, click the link for free, whatever, or click the link for free webinar, click the link for XYZ consultation. And that way, whenever someone clicks on your page, it drives them directly to wherever you're trying to get. So whenever you're designing your page, think about what you're trying to get out of it. For like in my case, at this moment, I'm really just trying to focus, like I'm focusing more on real estate. So I'm shifting towards that. So when you come to it, it's like kind of pretty simple. And then everything else is real estate, real estate, real estate. You come to my post, I'm talking about real estate. So kind of think about whatever the goal is. So if the goal is you want to get more clients for your business, optimize it for that. So what you would do, put information here that pushes them to the business, put hashtags that are related to your business industry, and then make posts and make content that's related to your industry. So let's say you have a real estate company. You can make a LinkedIn post like one or two a week that talk about real estate, talk about the real estate market, talk about what's going on, talk about whenever SVB was going down, talk about use real world situations that are going down and relate it to your industry, and it keeps you in the algorithm. And with LinkedIn isn't a platform where they have to be following you in order for them to see your post. If all that really has to happen, if you make a post and someone that doesn't follow you likes it, now that pops up on their feed and it shows XYZ person like this, and they won't even be following you, but they'll still see your post. So the main focus for your LinkedIn is to make content that the people that you're wanting to see it are going to like. And that's going to essentially take care of a lot of the work for you, because it's just going to keep pushing it to those types of people. And your first post isn't going to go viral. Your second post isn't going to go viral. Your probably first 50 aren't going to go viral. But the whole point is to keep building that network. Same way with how when you start sending these connection requests, you're going to send out 100, but probably 1% you're actually going to like be able to message. And then 50% won't even like give you the time of day to begin with or even look at your profile. So it's really just a numbers game. Like I'm at 7,000 followers now. I started taking this very seriously in I think October of last year. So just in the matter of staying consistent with just maxing out the connections, sometimes not even like sending messages with them, like generally just maxing it out just because like it's Saturday at 11 p.m. and I know it's about to reset and I'm trying to make use of the remaining connections I have left. So playing the numbers game is going to be your best bet, and then actually posting content that's related to whatever industry you're in. And also make sure you're filling out your description here. If you're just using it for like your personal brand, like I am, just, talk about you. But if you're using it for your business, you would want to talk about, what your business does. Let's say if you have a development company, we develop multifamily real estate, 100+ units in the, Dallas, Texas area, information like that. And everything else here is really just going to be putting your experience. So with some profiles, what I've noticed is it will look kind of like this. So this is what you don't want to look like, where it looks like it's not hyperlinked to the actual page of their to the actual company's LinkedIn page. And the reason that's important is because with my page, for example, because my link Goldman is literally linked, their page is literally linked to where I worked. So what happens whenever I'm posting to LinkedIn, it'll push my content to more Goldman Sachs employees. So now, because I'm a Goldman Sachs analyst, they'll basically every single post that I make now, it's majority Goldman Sachs people that see it. Like you can go to your post and let's say this one, for example. So you can go to your post and you can see who's engaging with it on your analytics. And based off of, that one, it's unavailable. But based off of what company you work for, it's going to push it to more people at that company. If you're in the real estate industry, it's going to push it to more people in the real estate industry. And it's also, basically the same goes for your colleges as well. It's going to push it. Your post is probably going to pop up for someone just because y'all went to the same college in the same year. And LinkedIn's going to recognize that and try to connect y'all, because their algorithm is optimized to make people connect. So if it thinks you might know someone at XYZ company because you work together or might have worked together, you probably never even passed them in the hallway, it's going to push your content to them because they're going to say, y'all might end up connecting. You might end up messaging on the app. And then, you got a story saying LinkedIn connected us together. So you got to kind of think about what's LinkedIn wanting, what you want, and what are the people that you're wanting to see you wanting as well. So that's essentially a lot of the LinkedIn stuff. Really, it's not really anything too complicated. It's the first thing is really making the profile. That's where a lot of people end up falling short. Another great thing to do is you can add a video to your profile as well. And what that does essentially, I think there, if you don't have a video up here, there'll be a button where it says you can add profile video. In that, basically, you're just saying, hey, I'm Sean. I work at X, Y, and Z. I'd love to talk to you sometime. It's like less than 15 seconds. And what that does, shows people, you're a real person. You're not a bot behind a computer screen, and kind of gives them a little bit of feel of, how you talk, what your voice is, kind of your vibe overall. And that's pretty much it. The biggest thing, have a profile, post on it. If you can manage to post at least once a week, just post something, whether it's about, you can post a poll about a current event going on. One that I had made at one point that did pretty good whenever I was like kind of just experimenting, was I made a post about Twitter. It was before Elon Musk had bought them. I had said a post, should Twitter be public, private, or other? And that ended up blowing up a little bit more than I was expecting, because I was kind of just still kind of filling it out a little bit about, posting on real world events, and those ended up doing pretty well, doing pretty good. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, and also giving the hints and techniques, or like the practices that you have been doing so far that puts you to where you are right now. So thank you so much for that, for bringing that one in the platform. So wait, hold on. we have, yes, anyone from the attendees would like to ask questions? Okay, let me just check live. Okay, so far there are no questions. So anyone would like to have comments or insights with regards to what was discussed or being shared right now, feel free to unmute yourself. And while we are waiting, are you working on something right now, Sean, or anything you'd like to promote? Or if anyone would like to contact you offline as well, are there any other forms or ways they can reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way to reach out to me probably would be through my LinkedIn page. You can just look up my name, Sean Moore. I should hopefully I'm one of the first people to pop up, I'd like to think. But yeah, if you got any questions, my big thing right now, I'm kind of making my shift into the real estate space right now, trying to actually like be owning my own land and flipping it. So that's kind of like my main focus right now.
Wow, that's it's really a brilliant goal that you are working on. So let me see. Okay, there are no questions so far, so it was delivered very clear and crisp. Thank you so much for that. So, like every knowledge and experience base, it's really like unique to each individual. Like the one person that he is doing effectively for himself may not work to each and everyone. So we still encourage for those who would like to adapt. So you can use these practices and techniques as basis, and then you can modify it to your own personality. So you can find an effective way of making use of these tools that are provided. But definitely with the principle of the lean, um, you apply it to the things that you adapt, and the tools that you acquire will definitely help you have progress and have improvements in to your personal life. I think that concludes the today's webinar session, which is really fruitful. So from past webinars, we've been having powerful ladies that we have, and now we want to show how gentlemen's work as well in terms of uh, this industry and bringing themselves up to where they are right now and putting themselves up. So thank you so much, speakers, Mr. Stuart McDonald and Sean Moore. So they are both available on LinkedIn. If you just search their name and message them right ahead, anything that you have in mind that would make them address, or they'll be able to address it for you, please feel free to do so. As when I've reached out to them, they are very friendly and very approachable and respond real quick to the initiative of sharing their experience and knowledge and practices to the community. So this recorded session will be uploaded on YouTube, which is on Let Us Talk It page. So it's let space US space talk it. So that's basically read before Let Us Talk IT. But we do not limit our topics on IT anymore. So we cover any topics, any experiences in order to provide knowledge and create an empowered and informed community through these webinars. So if you want to see more of this, please stay tuned, and we'll see you again next Wednesday for new topics, and two new speakers as well that will be with us. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining and staying in, and hope you all the best and take care as always. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.